Hey kids, how's it going? Johnny B here. Easy to use music templates for creators, Ableton Live, Reaper templates, that kind of thing. Glad you could join me again today. I'm going to dive right in because I don't have a lot of time, but I do want to share today's stream with you and how it's progressed since last week. I am in the process of writing music for a 2D point-and-click game. And it's going pretty well. I got some feedback from the client, which is very helpful. So first, if it's the first time watching this, just take a listen and see what you think so far. This is kind of like moody, jazzy type music. Film noir territory for a mysterious character, could be a spy. All right. Pretty cool. It's got a Miles Davis influence. Now what I've figured out is how to change this rather ugly, there was an ugly sounding trumpet. This is not it, this is a nice sound, but yeah, I was using the Session Horns pack and trying to get a right sound. It wasn't working, so I just switched it to saxophone, which is part of this ensemble here. And here you can see the MIDI for that. And I've added a little bit of vibrato so you can actually hear a little after the note starts to sustain, which is lovely. Let's take this expression up and see what happens. I also just want to see if we can reduce some of the effect of the reverb. It sounds a bit wet to me. I'd like it to be more front and center. There you are. Alright, cool. So we're getting into the nitty-gritty now of how to, make this kind of music for the game. Another thing I did was I've taken this brush loop over here, drum brush loop, which is an amateur loop. I'd like to replace it, and I say it's amateur because I haven't recorded it at the right tempo. It's just a download. So you can hear right at the edge here that sound, which is the snare being hit. You can hear there's artifacts. Artifacts are unwanted sort of time stretch errors. So I'm going to try and fix that. But in the meantime, I've just caked it with some reverb from the guitar rig patch, and that's kind of doing the job. Here's a reverb that I'm using from guitar rig. Cool. So that's where we're at right now, and I'm pretty much ready to bounce this project. Before I do though, I think I did do a bounce of it last week actually. Let's just see. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that now. So yeah, you're probably going to hear the actual bounce taking place now. Harry ran through. Let's do 20, 21, 23 today. Eh? Yeah, and just an MP3. So you might hear the actual bounce happening now. Let's just turn that off. Cool. Next time I'll just turn it off. All right, and that's kind of where we're at for now. I did get some feedback on the initial piece I wrote for another character by the name of Anna. She's a sprightly, adventurous young British lady in the 1930s, off on a big adventure. And so I wrote some fast-paced and exciting, adventurous jazz music, swinging jazz music, and it was just a bit too much because, for example, we're in scenes where the character is just talking, you can't really have action music going. So while it does suit her character, it's not suitable for all of the situations her character might be in. So I'm going to tone that down a bit, and I've got a reference track which I'm going to basically, take on. Now, the main problem with that is two things. One is that I haven't finished the other character themes yet, and by the other character themes, I mean this number of leitmotifs we've got over here. Anna, which I've tried, and I've got to redo. Harry Renfrew, good feedback there. Ingrid van der Berg, I haven't started yet, and Lord Cardigan, I've done a bounce. Victor Belmont, I've done a bounce, and Colonel Bast, I haven't started. So we have to do Ingrid and Colonel Bast. And by the way, here is some of the feedback on Lord Cardigan, Anna, and Belmont. Okay. I did a bounce of Harry Renfrew, but I haven't submitted it, but I will do so at some point. Yeah, that's right. This was feedback on the reference track I submitted and not the actual composition. Okay. So now what we're looking for is something for Ingrid van der Berg, who is a society lady. She's turns out to be quite a generous character, very stately, kind of, what's the word? Sophisticated, definitely. So we're talking about something uplifting and perhaps something you might hear at a wedding. That's kind of what we're going for here. Cool. So let us get on with that. As you can hear, this is all orchestral. Nothing terribly novel about it in terms of like its place in history. It's not. There's no contemporary aspect to it. Okay, so actually you can't hear that, but I can hear the. I can hear it on YouTube. I turn it off on YouTube so I don't get hit by copyright stuff. And while we're on the topic, you can download my music templates. If you don't want to get copyright infringements or flagged on YouTube, go ahead and check the link in the description of my YouTube channel for the free stuff. You can take a listen, and if you like it, download it, import it into Ableton or Reaper, whatever you use. You can start messing around with it, remix it, send me links to what you've done. I'm always interested in what other people do with my music and how they build on it. Cool. So let's get this. I'm going to create a new project, and it's going to be an orchestral template. Fortunately, I've done most of the work in setting up the template. I just call it orchestra full, orch full, or just orch. As you can see there, I've got strings, brass, and winds. The reason I don't have percussion is because I use Cineperk for that. Cineperk is a gigantic percussion library, and in most cases you don't need, well, in many cases you don't need percussion for instrumental pieces. This is an example. I'm not going to be adding any kettle drums or anything like that to this piece that I know of. So let's go with just what we've got here: strings, brass, and woodwinds. There are a ton of instruments to choose from here. Let's just cycle down the list and get a feel for them one by one. That's the full contact, we don't want that. Nothing coming out of ensemble, and because I've made the rookie error of not routing my track to a pre-master. The reason I use a pre-master is because I like to know what is making its way to the master before it starts getting affected on the master channel. In other words, pre-master is the final stop before being sent to the master, and the reason that that is an advantage in my opinion is because you get to see exactly what levels are happening. Master channels like this one over here, well, I'm kind of hiding it, but master channels like this one over here are they show you the output levels but not the input levels. So what I want to know is how much audio is making it to the master before it starts to be impacted by anything in the mastering chain. I'm also going to load up a instance of Restream on the master and change the setting to local broadcast. I don't know what identifier. That should enable you to hear it on the actual stream. So where were we? We were trying to add a pre-master. There it is. And now I'm going to disable all these mastering plugins and make sure that that goes to the pre-master and that everything else here goes to... Sorry about all this routing stuff. I know it's kind of boring, but it does give you a sense of how Reaper works. What you'll also notice here is that all of these channels over here are currently going directly to the well, nowhere really, but where I want to send them is to the pre-master, so I can select multiple channels at once and just click and drag, and that enables you to send them in bulk, so I don't have to click on each one and say pre-master. I've also just noticed there's a little bit of a height difference here between the routing elements. I want to just get rid of that, and we can also bring this down a little bit just to get a nice screen real estate layout. Cool, I think that is pretty much it. I'm gonna now hopefully, yeah, there we go, cool. Let's give this a listen. We should have some audio coming through. I still can't hear anything, can you? No. Because why? I had something there for a second. That was my mic input. Ensemble not going where it should. How irritating and embarrassing. Right. Cool, let's debug this, shall we? This is just getting set up. Audio is coming from audio is currently coming from the mics, and we don't want that. We want them to come from MIDI. All MIDI inputs, yeah, that's right. Head scratching stuff, huh? Contact has been disabled. Maybe that's got something to do with it. No, that's not what I wanted. Don't offline effects. Online effects, please. Now it should load up everything in that library, which is why it seems to have frozen. Cool. I'm going to set this up and make it a bit easier in future. Obviously that is in my... I've loaded the whole library now and I can see it on the right. Now can I hear it? Got nothing. I got MIDI coming into the string ensemble. There we go, and the velocity was down. Now I assume I've got to do the same for that. I remember why I made that mistake of offlining the effects, and the reason is because often when you load up a big selection of instruments like this, you don't want it to crash your RAM. You want to be able to switch on and off instrument libraries while you work, so that you can, for example, work with a bit of brass stuff and then do a bounce of it and then switch it off. And because when you're only working with 16 gigs of RAM like I am, then you don't really have the liberty of having everything loaded into RAM at the same time. So figuring it out. Sorry about the delay there. It would be nice if this kind of stream were really smooth, but obviously it's a work stream, so you are figuring stuff out on the go. Maybe you're learning like I am, and we can all learn together. How does that sound, kids? Still loading, and that's fine. This would be the woodwinds, yeah. Control shift click, not shift click. Okay, cool, and that's paused up, and you can hear these in the meantime. If there's one item on my wish list for Christmas this year, it's a keyboard with a working mod wheel. My mod wheel is a little bit iffy. If you're wondering what a mod wheel is, it's this one of these two wheels here. A mod wheel allows you to create swells, orchestral swells, when when working with especially strings. When I try and use mine, you'll notice it's just going to dip out. The pitch wheel is working, but this mod wheel doesn't work at all. So at least we've got strings, and I do have a sustain pedal at my foot, which allows me to magically look, no hands. Okay. All right. Now what we're looking for is some kind of Pachelbel's Canon type vibe, you know. With strings, what I like to do is not to cluster them too much. For example, in a key of G major, having this kind of thing. It sounds quite lush, but I find it better when you space it out and leave that gap in between for other, instruments or other roles in the ensemble. If you're just tuning in today, I am writing music for a 2D point-and-click game, and the influence is vintage. It's actually vintage jazz, but this character that I'm working on now is more, she's older and she's more sophisticated, so we're just focusing on sort of on a classical feel. So I'm just going to use this, the classical library that I use is called Symphony Essentials. It's quite a starter, entry-level kind of library, and I'm about to write some strings at a sort of largo tempo, which is slow. Oops. Let's get that back up. All right. Da, 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 da. Yeah, like 60 BPM is largo. Okay. Let me put the... Should we do this the hard, complicated way, or should we do it the easy way? The easy way says write with a string ensemble in mind, just the entire thing in one go, so I can play high strings on the same keyboard as the low strings and the basses over here like this. That's quite nice. You can get a lot of mileage out of just holding down keys, Gotta have a little bit of music theory and piano chops, but you can get quite far with quite little, like me. So I'm gonna write a general melody, which is... Let's see what we know about her and allow ourselves to be influenced by this character. Ingrid van den Berg is a classical inspiration, high society, very proper, but it needs to be more uplifting and not so much not so, you know, morbid or maudlin, maybe is another word. Okay. Cool. Alright. Proper Pachelbel's canon is a good reference for this, even though that's a bit straight, that's a bit the question is, what can I hear, what can I subject people to listening to again and again on repeat? If this piece of music is less than a minute and it takes them 6 or 7 minutes to solve, you know, a puzzle in the game, I've got to consider repeatability. So it can't be too jarring. It's got to be like a little bit more background, placid. Okay, that's cool. So we good. So we started with a G to an E minor, no, to a C major 7 to an E minor. Okay, let's just do a take of that and just see how it feels. I've got a click in my ear. I don't think you can hear it, but I can hear it. Just want to double check on that. Yeah. I'm going to do the take in just a moment, but first I want to just size myself down a little bit, take myself down a peg, and then also just expose the actual library that we're using. Okay, cool. Okay, I also want to just bring the brightness of this patch down a bit. It's a little bit hard at the moment. And then we'll just also dip the I have a feeling that even though the brief is for something stately, I think that the tempo is going to have to be a bit higher just to bring up that energy a little bit. You know, we don't want to put our game players to sleep. Okay, let's try it out. 2, 3, 4. So it just occurred to me that it'd be nice if you could see what I was doing, so I'm going to just switch to a more central mode. Haha! My finger slipped and I just discovered the secret hidden compartment for the batteries in my keyboard. Woohoo! So yeah, if you're watching the stream today, you're tuned into a real genius. Okay, look for do. No. Okay, I'm thinking like this. Okay, let's change the articulation to spiccato. so we can hear what we're doing a bit better, so it's not all sustained, and we'll go. Sounds a bit contemporary to me, but that's also not the worst thing in the world. Got to get something down, you know, clock's ticking, so. So orchestral instrumentation like this, spiccato string ensemble, doesn't necessarily mean a orchestral classical music sound. It doesn't necessarily translate. So I've got to figure out some idioms from the classical world that are instantly recognizable, and that's stuff like the play between dominant and tonic. So that's to Jingle Bells. Okay. I like that. So you get the pulse, the pulse. Okay, let's go with that. I really like that. A little bit faster. Well, let's record at the speed. We can always bring the tempo up because I'm not exactly a virtuoso piano player. Okay, so we got that whole part down. Let's just write out the piece here in our minds. Two of those. Okay, and then we can change that up. So, okay, let's do a piece at a time. We're going to start with this sprightly 2, 3, 4. That's a good enough start. We're going to edit that, move away from that editor and move into this one. Good. And first things first, add a label over here so that we can snap back to it quite easily. And close that off. Add snap, turn on snap so that it joins in there nicely. And now we can go back. Oops, to the previous marker, set the intro point, go to the outro marker, set the outro point, and lock that envelope. Oops. Oh, you might as well save the project too. Let's save it. Ingrid Vanderberg, I believe her name is. There we go. Turn off create subdirectory, and let's work with some MIDI. Okay, one thing we're going to have to do pretty early on is also figure out the articulation for spiccato, which is the bouncy sound that we are using. Is going to be up here on C sharp, C7, that's it, yeah. If we change it up here, it'll be pizzicato. No, looks like I'm wrong. Where are we? Oh yes, we're in the ensemble. That means that our articulations are actually in the F6 range here. That's harmonics, that's spiccato. Okay, so I've just found the right articulation for this piece. Let's pump up the tempo, shall we, to 98. Okay, now this note over here, the last note, first let's do a little quantize on everything to 1/6 and call it 80%, 16th note quantize, so it's all nicely snapped to the grid, but not perfectly. Okay, we've got a mistake there, that's fine. I can see it. Okay, from here. Okay, so the mistake I mentioned was that it tends to oh, this should be an octave, yeah, there, on the note please, thank you. Was I that out? Jeez, this is way out. And now I've got these two at the end, preventing me from moving it forward. So I'm going to just take the whole thing and hopefully, yeah, let's just take that one there. No, what am I doing? This one here, this whole thing here needs to move to about there. Horrible. Looks like I jumped the gun a bit there when quantizing. It's really caused a real problem. Okay. Then all of this apparently is going to be out. I like those skips though, those could work. We'll leave space for some stabs. I'm gonna do like orchestral stabs. And these could all come over. We could also just widen the. And this comes over, so this is really pedantic level of MIDI editing. This is what it takes though to get these decent sounding production, is this kind of attention to detail. Okay, we've got a basic sound now, very basic. It's taken a while to get just this basicness done. This is kind of Baroque era music. It's like, I think all of this, you should repeat the whole thing with a, what's going on? Din, 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 din. got an idea. We're just gonna copy this out. This part over here, the halfway. Okay, so what we actually want to do is take this section over here. I'm just gonna do it quick and cheaty way. Is get rid of that, move this to duplicate it, and we should have lose that, open that, okay, that's good. So sometimes when you're stuck in the weeds like this and you are writing, or editing really, it's not really writing, and doing detailed stuff like this, you get ideas, you know, by making these mistakes, by making timing errors. That's all I really wanted to like bring up here, is that by screwing up the quantizing, I've had a new musical idea, which is to use dotted quaver notes to make it more sort of pompous and classical. So let's try listen to the whole thing again. Very straight. We introduce the theme, and then we vary it. I've got two things I want to change. One is that I should stop clicking on that. Secondly is these ones here. It's actually not all of them, it's just the one. Okay. And then we remove this top line, top note. And we'll, yeah, okay, cool. Cool. No, this is wrong. The beginning note shouldn't be syncopated. How about removing that one too? No, let's take that back and keep it in. Cool. Something rather than nothing, which is what we're aiming for here. Straight. Gonna get a little shock buzzer next to my, or like, you know, like on my wrist, a little shock buzzer that's linked to the machine. And then every time I double click the MIDI clip, instead of hitting E to edit it in the online editor, the inline editor, I'm going to get a shock basically for doing the wrong thing. I think that way I'm going to learn. So maybe we'll do it like this. Every time I screw it up, I'm going to go bzzz. So you can figure out, as I learn, you can learn with me. Let's lose those notes. This is sounding like a classical piece of music now. Okay, and then we will develop it as we go. I have a feeling that we should simplify it even more with the bass notes. So let's just see what happens when we deselect that, please. No. Unselect. How do you do that? Oops. Alt Shift. No. It's going to be Control Shift. No. Yes. Control Shift is. Okay. And then Shift, deselect. All these secondary guys. Should have a script for that. And mute them. And I've gone and muted the wrong bunch. Let's try it like that. Just hear that first opening phrase without the I think over here it would be more appropriate. So we start with the kind of punch, which is the 8th note bass stabs, or the bass accompaniment, and then the second half of the phrase, we drop them out. And now we should hear only half the number of basses. Now where do we go from here? Because that's an okay start. And I'm tempted to go into the woodwinds and everything, but lay the foundations first, bro, and then come back to whatever the rest is going to sound like. Could of course just use this as a demo and send this off, but I kind of want a bit more than just this loop. So we're going to be somewhere here. No, that's too contemporary. So it's more straight than that. So we could also do a legato. Let's change the articulation now. Oh, what they did a lot in this type of music is they would rely on diminished to modulate and change tonalities. So for example, you'd have a go from a G, you go to a C, you might do this type of thing. To move to a D tonality. So I used 2 diminished scales there, diminished chords, to go from G, and then we went to the C, which was still in the key of G, the perfect 4th. But then I went up. That would be a nice progression, so let's try with that. Okay, we can also lose this upper 6th thing. We can make something new out of it. So I'm thinking something like this with the bass. I'm a fan of irregular numbers of bars in a sequence or a passage. So if you're making it 5 or 6 or 7, it beats the usual sort of 4 or 8 for me. So what we're going to do here is go G, 2, C, 4, C sharp, then 4, so this is G, and 2, C, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, return. That's one way to do it. Let's do that. Let's go. So let's start with, as if we're going to continue that. Here's how I'm thinking this could go. Let's just go to pizzicato for now and see how we go with this. Down an octave. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, yeah, again, we're just playing around, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. bum, 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 bum. That would be better. Okay, let's try it again. Whole passage. No, not whole passage. Just punch in record. So we can unlock the envelope, set a new record marker here, set another record marker there, and select punch in recording, go, record, D, then done, okay, to D and D and D. No, I screwed up the last note here. Go again, 2, 3, D and D and. That's it. That's a very clear signal of where we are musically. So let us group and loop that. Okay, so the idea now would be taking it from the previous passage to this one. And watch this. I am not going to double click that MIDI clip. I'm going to hit E so that that it opens up in the right way. Such a hoot. Okay. Kiddie Winkles, let us continue forward on this journey of discovery together. What fun, said Uncle Johnny. We are trying to get this on pizzicato, so let's go back to the beginning. Okay, not loading pizzicato for some reason. We want, because once again I'm in the wrong octave. We want that note to be down on the F6, F. That's harmonics. We want trills, spiccato, pizzicato. There we go. Now we've killed them, I think. Spiccato from the top. We've got about 10-15 minutes left in the stream. I'm just working on an orchestral track for a 2D point-and-click adventure game. And if you dig the work I do, you're welcome to go and download some free samples, free templates for your Ableton Reaper projects. Mess around with them. Check the link in the YouTube description for access to those. I have a feeling that that entire section could be longer. I feel like it's a little bit of a rushed return to the beginning. How about that? That should be up there. Okay. I'm going to just loop those two and lock the envelope. We haven't got a melody yet, but that's okay. That's kind of easier part for me than doing the work of editing and pulling out the harmonic structure. We're missing that chord there, but it doesn't have to be just straight all the time. Oh, one other thing, I haven't sequenced these. Let's give them 16th and again 80%. Hopefully we got no timing screw ups this time. Ding, bum, clicking it. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, actually I'm going to just be a bit more ruthless now because these 16th note timing screw ups are wasting me time, ironically. So I'm going to give it an 8th note because nothing fancy going on here. 80%, that should snap these misbehaviors into position. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Not bad for a start. Let us group that together. We've got basically two parts here, the introduction with the spiccato strings, and then we've got the second part, which is irregular in that it's a 5-bar passage section instead of the regular 4 or 8, which is pleasing to me. And what I'm going to do next, actually, let's just do that right now, is temper some of these velocities. As you can see, a lot of them are red, and what I want to do is get them, I don't mind having red velocity, but I just want them to be all in the same ballpark, even if there's like a straight line like that. It sounds a bit unnatural if you're going for a typical organic orchestral sound. You want things to sound a little bit, you know, like they're being played by real instruments. So give them a bit of, push the velocities up and down like this a bit. I'm sure there's some clever person who's written a randomize velocity script. Haven't gotten that far myself. I'm a dude with a day job and a kid, so I do what I can, when I can, where I can. Oh yeah, ding, 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 ding. Okay, my side hobby is making boogie music, and that's the side hobby of the side hobby. So we're talking parallel squared, all right? And right now, what I'm going to do is mess around as my end of day reward for doing the work of, you know, composing the stuff. I'm going to screw around with some woodwinds because I'm just feeling wood at the moment. I'm feeling wood. I'm feeling the wood. How about a bassoon? Oh, I've apparently selected the incorrect bassoon. There's a bassoon. Okay. What are we playing at the moment, kids? I'll show you. We are playing this sexy instrument right here. The bassoon. Oh yeah. It's got crescendo, but not just a decrescendo. But one useful thing that the bassoon and this patch actually has is arpeggio modes. So watch this. Oh, trippy. But no, we don't want chords. We want yeah. So we should be able to get some results just by screwing around like this. That sounds nice. Okay, so that's the major. We don't have to play it continuously, just like this. So unfortunately it plays the major chord of the note that you're holding down. So it assumes if you're holding down a B that you're playing the B major scale. What I actually want is for it to play something. Yeah, I want it to play the sequential notes of each chord that I'm holding down. How about a triplet here? No, too complex. Let's keep it on 16th. And I'm going to... How's the trill sound? No, that's a minor trill. I want it to be a major trill. No, it's too repetitive. Key. There we go, I found it. Good, great. I haven't used this before, so that's great. So now we're playing 3 notes on the keyboard here, and the 3 notes are being sequentially played in the arpeggio, which is what I'm after. So if we did a nice widespread, bass bassoon has a rather low range, or lowish range. Actually, I'm thinking of the contrabassoon, which is the lower version. That's the one I'm after. I'm sequencing out the low end of this first. Hopefully it has the same settings. Type, key, mode, run, 16, that's fine. So we should have like nice low sound there. That sounds pretty dope. Sounds like an 80s kind of like a... Okay, we're not going to use the arpeggio for contrabassoon. It's just unrealistic sound. Just doesn't sound like you'd be able to play it if you were an instrument player. So let's get back to the bassoon and just see what we can get here. I wonder if we can also trigger a sort of legato sound. That's what we're going for. Okay, we're going to change the whole thing to a more legato vibe at that point, and I'll have strings doing pizzicato sounds or sort of static sounds, and I'll have legato maybe on the winds and the brass, or maybe some legato in the strings too. Point is, we want to start it here with everything kind of static and fixed, and then in the second passage we'll just let it go in its own direction, let it flow outwards, and then return to a point of fixedness. So for that to happen, I'm going to rely on the bassoon for the ostinato. This here, I'm going to go starting at a fifth, G and D, to A and D, and then go up to the, obviously to the B, and we'll progress it from there. So things that I've got to keep in mind here: the settings over here on the bassoon have to remain in place. I can't load up the same patch with different settings. Let's get going. For this I'm going to need, it's quite simple actually, let's just give myself a one bar count in, so count in and record, 2, 3, 4. Screwed that up, but it's fine, I'll fix it. 3 and 4 and 4. Also screwed it up, but it's fine. Okay, that's unrealistic. I got it kind of right up until... I did it. I double clicked on the effing clip. Let's not do that shit again. Okay, we would definitely need to quantize these all to 100% eighth notes, otherwise they're going to trigger at the wrong times. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. See, still triggering at the wrong time, even though I did place it correctly. So we're going to move that over a little bit. That should do it. 2, 3, 4, 2. There we go. Sounding good to me. What if we could change the articulation on din, din. It sounds like it's going too fast now. It sounds like it's going too fast now that the rest of it has changed. So let's see if we can't find the automation on this channel. Automation mode is here, trim, and what we're going to look for is actually on this channel, the contact channel. And I can't remember what I used for show automation. Reaper is fantastic with shortcuts. Insert automation, I've envelope automation item properties, set Q and W. That's not what I'm after. Okay, so I think it was Alt A. Is that what I'm after? No? Okay, so I don't have it right now. What I'm going to have to do is manually click there. Now it gives you a butt ton of options here, and what I'm looking for, actually the best way to do this is just to take off the arpeggio mode and then go to last touched. Doesn't have last touched. Okay, oh there we go, last touched. Within that we could say look for attack bassoon, not that one, no. We actually want arpeggio. And not show last touch. There we go. Arpeggio woodwinds, arpeggio flutes, arpeggio clarinet, arpeggio bassoon. There it is. We want that to be visible. Yeah, and it's got the other ones named. It's actually not that one, it's this one here. That's the correct one. What I'm doing now is showing the automation track for the arpeggio, and as you see, when I turn this, when I take this purple line up and down, this tiny little arpeggio setting over here goes on and off. When it goes below the 50% line, it goes on and off. This way you can control the point at which arpeggios are turned on and off. So what I need to do next is firstly unlock that, and I think it's from this point onwards we don't want an arpeggio, we want a do 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 do. So, see there, it's immediately taken out this note, which now we can sort of solo out. So what I'm going to do is make sure contact is visible, make sure the bassoon is visible, and basically remove everything else. How do we do this again? Control minus. Okay, so I've got a keyboard shortcut here in Reaper which allows you to only view those elements that you're currently working with, which is quite cool. This one over here I want to be bigger, as big as possible in fact, and the automation lane where it's supposed to be. So I'm just working with a bassoon at the moment. And it'd be nice if this was actually a little bit bigger so we could see what was going on. I think it is page up. Yes, page up. Well done. Thank you. Well done. Thanks, bro. Okay, and at this point we want to actually trigger a note. So this note over here, the bassoon, should play. Yes, and now at the same time, no, tell you what to do, we're going to use a different patch to create that moment. I'm not going to get that deep into the weeds on this. We're just going to use an ensemble or a different actual instrument in this long list of instruments to fill in the gap left by the bassoon when it stops its arpeggiation. So let's get everything visible again and we can see where we're going. Strings, we are there. Automation can be turned on and off using the A key, which is nice. And brass we haven't touched yet, so I might actually just do myself a favor and move all of the winds up to above the brass so that we have them more accessible. Cool. Okay. Doesn't sound too bad, it just sounds a bit static. Okay, we'll give that a nice swell as we go, but one thing at a time. Don't try and edit everything at once, just take your time. That's quite nice, huh? We want to keep that same feeling going. Let's see how we can do it with a just do kind of a half time using this quintet. So here we are playing. Let's get the quintet open. We can see our there we go, quintet essential, this one here. It's the contrabass, you can hear the bass in the background, the bassoon. Yes, this has got the feel of a nice classical piece. Except the quintet's a little bit on the ballsy side. Okay, how about this? I'm just going to record it, whatever. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Cool. Something to work with. Bzzzt, I did it again. 40 volts to the brain. Let's get this quantized. We're going to do 100%, sorry, 87%. At that point, the bassoon drops out and I'm tempted to bring in a second violin. So at the moment we've got first violins playing, but I want to see if we can Bring in the seconds. I know what's going on here. There is a string patch which is hiding right over here, and it's not playing games because it's down. Ah, my mistake. We are on MIDI channel 2 instead of 3. Ah, that's not working either. Why is that not working? Violin 1. There we go, cool. So what if I changed violin 2 right now to a bright, also going to be a staccato. Maybe we could do, yeah, one with an accent. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see how that sounds. Ooh, that sounds quite nice. I didn't realize we had that kind of nice. Maybe it's the reverb. Pretty good. Staccato, spiccato. Repetition on. Seems like there's a lot of reverb, but there isn't. Is it harmonics? What's the articulation here? Why is it sounding so reverby? The contact instrument shouldn't have a reverb on it, and it doesn't. The violin part itself doesn't have any effects on it. Violins 2, which is... that's very super strange. Sounds like they've recorded it in a great hall without actually giving you the option to play it dry. Strange. Okay. Couldn't possibly be this, could it? This has got a reverb. No, that's not making a sound. This keyboard itself has a setting for like pump the reverb. It's got a control change value, which is called a CC value, which is a fixed value that all hardware and software using and integrating with MIDI has, which allows you to execute commands on pre-programmed values, basically. So you can use this keyboard on basically any software which supports control change mapping and say, all right, well, because I'm playing CC61 or whatever, that means that I need you to treat whatever input I have as a signal to change the reverb specifically, or velocity, volume, basically, or octave, pitch, a lot of different controls. And this is how you're able to, keyboardists who are able to play in any key just by knowing one key really well. So if you know the key of C# minor very well, for whatever reason, you could theoretically just transpose the keyboard to whatever key the song is in and play along without actually having to learn all 12 keys. Anyway, side rant there. I'm almost about to finish the stream now. It's been a cool day. I've made a start on this Ingrid van der Berg character theme. If you just tuned in, what I'm doing is writing music for a 2D point-and-click adventure game set in the 30s. No release date, details forthcoming. And I'm having a good time coming up with all these different styles for different characters, all of them kind of around the 1930s era. This one happens to be a classical music composition for a sophisticated sort of society woman who's quite a generous person, apparently. And I know very little, but I'm prepared to go with it, you know. So let's give this final push a listen. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fill in a gap left by the bassoon arpeggios by adding a second violin part to take over its part. So like this. That's quite nice. Okay, we'll just do that. Super confused as to why this thing is sounding so husky though. Definitely a ton of reverb on it, but I can't seem to find out where it's being processed. You know what it might actually be? Might be that I've saved this as a sort of... I've saved this as a preset, and it's automatically included automation when I load the preset. Let's just see if... This is kind of like boring nerd mode. I wouldn't want to subject you to too much of this, but let's see if I can figure it out. Okay, let's just go for it. Back stop. Back a bar, back 2 bars. 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. 2, 3, 4. Can be a swell, so we'll take it from there. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong, I like the sound of it, I just don't know where the reverb's coming from. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, cool, that's it. It's about all the time I got today. Thanks for stopping by. My name's John Bartman. You can download a bunch of free music templates for Ableton and Reverb by checking the link in the description of the YouTube channel. These are templates that I've made for 1 or 2 pop songs, but also just original stuff. And the goal is to, have other musicians practice working with templates and building on other people's material. So go ahead, download them if you like the stuff. You can also download the tracks and use them in your videos on YouTube. No copyright. I have a Patreon page at $6 a month at the moment. If you want to support my work, be my first patron. Come on. I've been streaming for 5 days now. And I'll carry on doing a daily stream at about 2 p.m. UTC, so London time. I'm based in South Africa. And thanks for stopping by. If you were a part of the stream, really appreciate it. You can always leave a comment next time. And help me grow this thing and provide some royalty-free, copyright-free music templates to, composers like myself. Cool. That's about it for today. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.